Oh, Canada. Sometimes this country seems endless, especially when you're driving across it. An endless expanse of forests, lakes, prairies, mountains, and coasts, home to countless animals and relatively few humans. Canada is among the lowest density countries in the world, so if you're an introvert like Brooke and I, you're right at home. Every now and then we'll pack up the RV and hit the road in search of wild places to visit. This year we brought the CRF300L Rally with us on the back. In fact, one of the reasons we bought this bike was for this expressed purpose. The Tenere and the Roadster were too heavy to put on the back of the RV, and messing around with trailers is a pain, especially when backing up or maneuvering in parking lots. No, we didn't ride our bikes across Canada and tent camp all the way. We do motorcycle camp, but when covering big miles on fast highways, the RV is the clear choice. We can switch drivers when we get tired and boondock overnight without having to set up camp or pay for accommodations. If you think this makes us soft, you're right. Guilty as charged. We've frozen our butts off and huddled in our tent through enough storms that the advantages of glamping have become obvious. And despite only having 3 weeks, we covered over 8,000 kilometers, stayed in 2 provincial parks, 3 national parks, and motorcycled, hiked, and bicycled some of the most scenic places in Canada. We only explored a fraction of what there is to be seen in this enormous country, but we thought we'd take you along for the trip. And who knows, maybe this video will inspire you to visit some of the same places, including a few that are so pretty they look fake. So settle in and join us on our trip. And if you like what you see, support the channel by subscribing and liking the video. We live in Ontario, the land of lakes, green hills, and rugged rock cliffs. However, out of the 250,000 lakes in this province, one stands out. Lake Superior, the largest freshwater lake on the planet, is basically an inland sea complete with its own weather patterns and massive storms, which have sunk a fair number of ships, especially during the famous gales of November. The most famous incident occurred in 1975 when the largest ship to sail the Great Lakes, the mighty Edmund Fitzgerald, was lost with its entire crew during a powerful November storm. The incident was immortalized by Gordon Lightfoot in the song The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, and is among his greatest hits. The shores of Superior are spectacular, with massive rock cliffs soaring out of the water and the Trans-Canada Highway twisting along the lake and providing amazing vistas. The most impressive views can be seen in Lake Superior Provincial Park and in the area around Pukasqua National Park, with huge elevation changes and twists and turns that will appeal to any sporty riders. Frequent lookout points provide you with plenty of opportunities for photography. We spent a couple of nights in Pancake Bay Provincial Park, which has a gorgeous beach, and even ran into a group of adventure bikers who were very curious about the new Rally 300. After that, we stopped for another 2 nights in Sleeping Giant Provincial Park, which contains the most spectacular hike in Ontario. This is a full-day walk which climbs up the enormous Sleeping Giant rock formation, skirts its edge, and ends at sheer cliffs which rise 900 feet above the lake and provide a dizzying view of the trees and water below. The place is completely unique and extraordinarily scenic. For context, it took us a day of driving to get from our town to Lake Superior, and another to drive around its edge from the east side to the north. And Sleeping Giant is still 7 hours away from the Manitoba border. The province of Ontario is almost 3 times the area of Germany, so if you're driving or riding, don't expect to get across fast. From Sleeping Giant, we set off west and entered the prairies. We stayed overnight in Brandon, Manitoba, near the 100th meridian, where the Great Plains begin. We saved the rest of the prairie experience for the way back and continued west the next day, arriving in Calgary in the evening just in time for bike night at a Tim Hortons coffee shop. We got Rick, we've got Deb.
Be careful, you end up on the internet.
Check out Angel Face's moto channel.
Unicorns!
Oh yeah, I know.
My YouTube name is The Maestro.
Alright, that's too much for me. I gotta rewire my brain. The next day we drove into Banff National Park in the Rockies and stayed at the Lake Louise campground for 4 nights. For motorcyclists, this is a paradise as every road is surrounded by incredible vistas. The 4-lane highway running through here is one of the most beautiful in the world. It is also relatively safe in terms of wildlife collisions, as fencing separates the animals from the road and the park has built animal overpasses for wildlife to cross. The town of Banff is a scenic tourist destination where you can get anything you need for camping or staying over a few days. Lake Louise Village, on the other hand, which is located 50k further, is rather small. The campground at Lake Louise is gorgeous but suffers from one major flaw. The train tracks pass right beside it, and every couple of hours you are treated to the noise of a huge freight train which is mandated to blare its horn just as it's passing the campground, including at night. Bring earplugs. Aside from the horrible sleep, we had a great time in Lake Louise. Beside the main Highway 1 is the 1A, which twists and turns its way through the mountains with beautiful lookout points along the way. One of the scenic hikes on this route is Johnston's Canyon, which was carved out by a glacial river. The walk contains some spectacular scenery and a couple of waterfalls, and if you go the entire 5.5 kilometers to the end, ends up in a place so pretty it doesn't look real. These are the ink pots, a series of ponds, each of which has a source of water at the bottom that bubbles up from underground. This water flows down and joins the glacial river, and the entire place is surrounded by soaring mountains. Thanks to Calgary YouTuber Angel Face Motor Rider for suggesting this one to us. We've never been here before and we're glad we checked it out. Our final day in the area was the most spectacular as we visited Lake Louise itself. There are many gorgeous lakes in the area like Moraine Lake and Emerald Lake, which we've seen on previous visits, but Lake Louise is the most famous. Rock flour in the glacial melt gives the lake its milky color, and mountains hem it at its sides. One of the mountains is the Big Beehive, which is a popular hiking destination. After taking advantage of the free motorcycle parking, cars pay $11, we headed past the crowded tourist area and started climbing. After ascending past a couple of smaller lakes and a tea house, we hit the switchbacks at the back of the Beehive. Once on top, we were met with one of the most spectacular views on this planet. Lake Louise is beautiful when viewed from the front, but absolutely breathtaking from above with the shadows of the clouds passing over it. Pretty nice place to eat your lunch. There are plenty of lookout points which, surprisingly, weren't very crowded. After drinking in the view and most of our water, we were thirsty on the way down on this scorching day. We headed down the other side where we made our way down to the lake and waded in the icy water. Any more than a few seconds in the stream which feeds the lake feels like you're about to lose your toes to the cold. Do we recommend this place? Are Hondas red? Put this one on your bucket list. The next day we left for Jasper. The Canadian Rockies in this area all flow from one national or provincial park to another. If you combine the areas of the parks in Alberta and British Columbia, they add up to almost the size of Belgium. Jasper National Park is north of Banff, and the road that leads there, the Icefields Parkway, is the most spectacular we've ever driven. We're talking 250 kilometers of mountains, rivers, forests, lakes, cliffs, and glaciers the entire way north to the town of Jasper. There are plenty of stops along the way to check out hikes, waterfalls, and lookout points. One of the most popular stops is at the Athabasca Glacier, which comes off the Columbia Icefields, a field of ice the size of Detroit. Here you can take a special bus and walk on the glacier, or take a different bus to go to the Skywalk, which hangs over a valley a few kilometers further down the road. We've done this before, but this time we elected to continue on to Jasper. Unfortunately, the smoke from the forest fires in British Columbia moved in on this day and the views were somewhat obscured, but we were still treated to some gorgeous sights. Jasper is known for its wildlife, and I saw a bear, deer, and some mountain goats on the way up. We camped at Wabasoo Campground, which is quiet because it's off the main road. This is not the first time that I saw elk in a campground in Jasper, but the bear feeding 50 meters from the campground entrance was a new thing. The town of Jasper is typically touristy and cute, but it's the surrounding area that's the real attraction. We spent some time motorcycling and bicycling around the region, and the coolest place we found was Mount Edith Cavell. This is located at the end of one of the twistiest roads we've ever ridden. Follow this gem of a road as it climbs 2,000 feet into the mountains, and you'll see plenty of switchbacks and beautiful lookout points. After you pass the glacial lake on the right, you'll find one of the most awe-inspiring parking lots in the world. From there, it's only a short hike to the mountain and a spectacular lake fed by several glaciers. The rugged beauty of this place is something else, and we each rode up here separately on the motorcycle as well as together on our bicycles. The smoke cleared on the day we were cycling, so we were able to see the place in its full glory. So that's as far as we got, but it wasn't the end of the trip, because on the way back we visited one of the most underrated national parks in Canada. Grasslands National Park is a ways off the beaten path, and this may be the reason why it always has campsites available. About an hour-and-a-half drive south of the Trans-Canada Highway, this park is located in southern Saskatchewan just north of the Montana border, and is an example of the prairies as they existed before the arrival of European settlers. Here you can almost picture Clint Eastwood cresting the hill in the movie Pale Rider. One of the misconceptions of the prairies is that they are flat and boring, but Grasslands is anything but, and is one of our favorite national parks. The topography is hilly and the place is covered in numerous species of grasses, shrubs, and cacti of all different colors. In the spring, when the flowers bloom, it explodes with color. This is the only park I've seen that challenges Jasper for wildlife sightings. On a previous visit, we've seen 2 rattlesnakes, though this time we weren't so lucky. Or unlucky. We did, however, see plenty of mule deer, a badger, a golden eagle, coyotes, and thousands of prairie dogs. There are several colonies in the park and more in the surrounding area, and some stretch for miles. However, the coup de grace of Grasslands wildlife is the buffalo. Sometimes the herd feeds together, sometimes you'll find a lone buffalo or a pair or group of 3, but seeing them is always a treat. This year we spent 4 days in the park and saw them every single day. Other things to do? A driving eco tour with various stops around the park for learning about local plants and animals, an 80-kilometer scenic gravel drive, or better yet, bicycle or motorcycle, which winds in and out of the park with some awesome vistas. Several beautiful hikes of all lengths and difficulties, and in the evenings, a short walk up the hill behind the campground to view the prairie sunset with mule deer grazing below and buffalo in the distance. Grasslands was the perfect, peaceful, and relaxing end to our trip. Other than the midnight storm that blew through the campground, knocked over our motorcycle, almost blew over the RV, and shredded several tents in the other sites. And the flat that happened 70k east of Swift Current, which set us back a day as we had to wait for it to get fixed. Still, all's well that ends well, and we had a brilliant 3 weeks. Now back in Ontario, we're grateful that the place we live in is as beautiful as the places we've visited. Life is good. We hope you enjoyed this video and were perhaps inspired to plan a trip to one of the places highlighted. Due to limited time, we've only explored a tiny portion of what there was to be seen, and I know that the viewers will pipe in with their own suggestions of places to visit. Please share these in the comments below, let us know if you've learned something new, and as always, ride safe. If you're interested in any of the gear that Brooke and I wear or use, or the camera equipment we use to film this channel, the links are below. Everything listed there was bought with our own money, and we are not sponsored by any company. However, the links below are affiliate links, and the channel is paid a small amount for referring you to shop at no additional cost to you. We do not recommend any products that we are not satisfied with ourselves, but we do strongly urge you to do your research and select the correct size for items like helmets and clothing. As always, thanks for watching, your support is greatly appreciated. Please hit that subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. And whatever you ride, enjoy it. Wave at other bikers no matter what they're riding. We're all part of a brotherhood and sisterhood. Keep the rubber side down, shiny side up, and may the spokes be with you.